everybody, Jay here. Welcome back to the channel. Today on this video, we're going to get right to it. It's going to be a longer video, so I don't want to waste time. We are going to rebuild our Homelite Super XL-12 Automatic. This saw is from 1971. It's a 68cc saw, pure vintage muscle, and today we're going to tear in it. We're going to rebuild it. We're going to go downstairs into our bench, and we're going to redo it down there. But anyways, the first 5 or 6 minutes of this video is going to be just kind of tearing it down. If you want to get into the nitty gritty of it, I think I start the crank seals at about the 6 minute mark, 6 minute 30 second mark, give or take in there. So if you don't want to see me kind of tearing it down part by part, you can go ahead and skip ahead to the meat and potatoes. But we're going to do crank seals, new piston and ring, and yeah, we're going to see if this bad area we can bring it back to life. So hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right to it. All right, before we start this video series, I would like to thank Dave. His username is RCAF Polar Express. He's a fellow YouTuber, and he also has 2 or 3 vintage Homelites himself. It is his fault that we're tearing into this saw. He said when I got this saw, long story short, when I got this saw a long time ago, not that long ago, but about 3 months ago, he said, oh, I got a couple of those, let me make a video. I went out, made a video of them running and cutting. I was inspired, so I bought everything I need to fix it. So Dave, these next couple video series goes to you, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you for always tuning in. And yeah, let's go ahead, get down to the bench and get right to it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Homestead. Today we have an awesome video, video series. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we're going to figure it out together. Today we are going to rebuild our Homelite XL-12 Automatic, or Super XL-12 Automatic Homelite vintage chainsaw. This is a 68cc saw. Absolute pure beast of a saw that I have never cut a single piece of wood with. So anyways, we got this from my good pal Adam. When I got the saw, both the low and the high jet were full rich, and the saw ran like crap. Did a compression test, 125 pounds in the cylinder, and due to the fact that the high and the low were completely screwed in, trying to compensate for all that air, I'm assuming the crank seals are bad. So like you see in front of you, we're going to put a piston rings, new wrist pin circlip in. We got crank seals, and we also have a base gasket. So we're going to go ahead and basically do a full overhaul on this chainsaw. So I hope you guys enjoyed the series. Hopefully it's not too long. We're going to skip some of the time lapses, and we're going to get right to it. Okay, so first things first, we're going to remove the basics. We're going to take the air filter and air filter cover off. We're going to take the bar and chain off. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that real quick, and we'll be right back. We're going to skip a few of these parts for the sake of, I want to get down to the nitty gritty. That's where I want the meat and potatoes of this video to be. All right, so just a quick update. We got the bar and chain off. We have the spark plug out. We put a piece of paracord in there and pulled the saw over until it locked up. So that way we can get this clutch off. So now we're going to go ahead and pull our carburetor off. We're going to pull our flywheel cover off. We're going to start stripping this baby down so we can get at the good stuff, the motor. So yeah, let's go ahead and keep working on that. All right, so I'm going to show you guys a little trick here. See these 3 holes on this clutch? What you're supposed to buy is a flywheel puller. It's got 3 little nipples on it that goes in, and you turn it with a wrench. But for us, since our saw is we have the paracord in there, which is preventing the piston from going up and down. We're going to take our Allen wrench and a little center punch here, put this on the ground here, and give it a few taps to hopefully loosen it up. So let's put it on the floor and see if that actually works. So after a few licks with the wrench, as you can see, off comes our clutch. So I just saved you $20 there. Pull our back friction plate off, if I can get to it, and then yeah, under this little bearing here is our crank seals. So yeah, that's pretty much how you do it. So now that our clutch is out and our crank is exposed, now's a good time to check for play in the crank. Make sure your bearings aren't smoked. This steel feels pretty tight. So what we're going to do is we're going to strip this saw down to bare nuts, and then we're going to take it and we're going to clean this all before we actually pull the seals out and pull the cylinder off. We're going to have this all cleaned out down to bare metal, get all this shellac out of here. But we needed to get all this crap off so we can get in there and clean it all. So yeah, now we're going to pull the exhaust off, and then we're going to go to the other side, and we're going to pull the flywheel off. I mean the pull start rope out, that whole assembly. So I think my theory was right. I don't know how well you could see on the GoPro, but there looks like some light scoring marks, some scuff marks, and it looks very burnt. So I think the whole running lean theory makes sense. So yeah, I just wanted to point that guys out to you. We got all the exhaust off, so now we're gonna pull these studs out and pull that cover off so we can get a better look. Let me show you something cool here. So we got the flywheel cover off. We got the magneto off. And this saw has points, so little contact points there. And if you look, it says set the gap to points to 0.15. That's 0.15 thousandths of an inch. This little doohickey here, this saw has sparks, so everything should be all good here. But this right here, when the saw runs, these open and close, which creates the electricity, creates the contact for the electricity to go through to the spark plug. So I thought that was pretty neat. I'd share with you guys. So we're getting there. It's almost torn down completely. So yeah, keep chucking. All right, so we got the points assembly out, we got the keyway out, we got all the washers out. So now we're down pretty much to what's the term, brass taxes there. So yeah, let's go ahead and loosen up these bolts. And then I want to say the motor probably comes out this way. I don't know, we'll have to see in a momento here. So yeah, let's go ahead and keep on. Let's start taking off all this stuff here. All right, so this is where we're at. We got it stripped down to pretty much bare nothing. We're gonna go ahead and go outside and clean out this whole crankcase, rinse off this whole thing before we go ahead and put the new parts in. Again, we got crank seals left and right and a new piston and rings to do. So let's go ahead and clean up this whole setup here before we go any farther. So we'll be right back. All right, so you can see we got all that grit and dirt off. We're gonna go ahead, put this in the vise, take the cylinder head off, and then we're gonna wash out, clean the cylinder, and then when we come back, we will put the new piston on and the crank seals while we're here, and then we can start putting this absolute nightmare back together. So yeah, let's go ahead and pop this cylinder off. There's 4 bolts there. 2 of them you need to get with a box wrench. The other 2 you can get with a socket. So let's stick this right in the bench here and work on it. All right, so we got our 4 bolts off. We should be able to just slide our piston right off. So a little bit of buildup on top of the piston there. Nothing too bad though. Little bit of score marks, but overall seems okay. We're gonna give it a shot anyways. All right, so that's pretty much brass taxes there. We are down to our crank. Just took our piston out. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna sand the inside of the cylinder with probably about 1,000 grit sandpaper, and then we're gonna reinstall our piston, and yeah, we're gonna keep on trucking with this. Hopefully it'll all be worth it. All right, so we got everything washed, dried, cleaned out, rinsed, degreased, XYZ. So now what we're gonna do is change this crank seal. So what we're gonna do is just get a pick and a screwdriver, pry this old seal out, clean it up a little bit, slide the new one on, and tap it around. There's a couple other videos on YouTube on how to do it properly. Best thing you can do is fit a socket over the crank here, tap it in. So let's pop this seal out and exchange it for the new one. All right, so this is our crank seal right here. As you can see, that one got oblonged or whatever when we took it out, but it's pretty much you could see that it's seen better days. So I definitely think now that I see that, this is our issue here, why the saw was running so lean. So we got a couple new ones here. Let's press the new ones in. So as you can see, we got that new seal just lightly sitting there. What you can do is you can take a socket, something long and deep enough, center it up like that, and just lightly tap it in so it's seated. So I can't really do this with 2 hands, so let's do it and we'll come right back. All right, so we got that new seal all pressed in, nice and flush to the housing. Obviously everything still turns and moves as it should, so yeah. Let's go ahead and flip this bad Larry over and pop that seal out, and we'll do the same thing. All right, so we got that new seal done. So now it's time to put the piston in. We just put a socket over and we tapped it down so it sat flush. Crank still spins freely. All is well. All right, everybody, welcome back. So we got our correct we got the correct piston. The Super XL automatics are 1 13/16. The regular XLs are 1 3/4. So anyways, cylinder, a couple notes on our cylinder. As you can see here, I don't know how well you can see, but we got the inside cleaned. We scraped out as much carbon as we could with the wire brush. We washed it out with clean gasoline. That's the best thing to clean cylinders with. As far as the grit all around it, I wasn't gonna get too picky with it. The inside, the meat and potatoes is what matters. So yeah, let's go ahead, and we got a new base gasket on here, our motor. Let's mount this back in our vise, and then I will show you how to install the piston, and then I'll pretty much put the rest of it back together and we'll see if it runs. So yeah, this is the meat and potatoes of the video, so let's get right to it. So this is our new piston, 2 rings, obviously our circlips, and our wrist pin. One thing you want to do first is make sure there's no contaminants on your piston. Everything looks good. And you see these 2 little rings, 2 little nipples here. When you put your rings on, and I'll show you, you want to make sure they meet at this little nipple here. And also too, you want to be careful when you put this in your cylinder here. If you look at your cylinder, see how this wall is completely smooth? You want to make sure that where you put the piston in correctly. Let's say you put the piston in this way, where the 2 rings meet right here on your intakes. That's bad news. So I'll show you that more in a second when we get the motor back in the vise. But first thing you want to do is, let me reposition you guys. All right, so these are your clips that you can see here. You see, I don't know how well you can see, but there's a little indent in the piston there that that these go into. These will keep the wrist pin from sliding out either way. So basically, what you want to do is you can put one side in first. That's a trick that kind of helps. You can put one side in first. So as you can see here, you kind of want to get it started in that groove and carefully, hopefully you can see this, carefully take a pick and press that in there. Now what you want to do to make sure that's in there is you want to make sure that you can, that this wrist pin, or hopefully you can see that, you want to make sure that this spins freely. As you can see, I'm spinning it freely. There's nothing holding it up. So when we put our actual wrist pin through, that's a stop pretty much, if you will, for lack of better super technical terms. So now we can go ahead and put it in the motor. So hopefully you guys can see, hopefully that's a good angle. But what we want to do first is you want to put some assembly grease, assembly oil, get it on those needle bearings in there. Again, it's not going to hurt anything. It's assembly grease. It's designed to burn off. Plus this is obviously a 2-stroke, so we're not super worried about it. But anyways, now moving on to our piston. If you look at your piston, sometimes they have an arrow. The arrow generally faces towards the exhaust. It could vary, so make sure you look up. You look up and you know what you're doing. This piston here, like I said, doesn't have any orientation on it, so we want to make sure our cylinder sits. Our cylinder sits this way. So this is the smooth side, like I said to you before. This is the smooth side of our cylinder. So we want to put our piston this way, so that way where our 2 rings meet, it's on a smooth surface. So what you're going to do is just literally pull your connecting rod. Oh, I got to kind of tighten this a little bit. Hang on. Put your connecting rod all the way up, and then you can put hover your piston right over. Take some assembly grease, put it on your wrist pin here, and then what you want to do is slide it through your connecting rod here. Push it all the way through until it stops, and then see how that circlip stopped it? Now we're going to put the other circlip on the other side and then put the rings on. Alright, so we got our circlip on our other side here. We're spinning it, make sure it spins in the groove. That's good. Everybody's happy. Now we're going to apply the piston rings. So go ahead and carefully rest your piston there. You don't want to scratch anything. Now let's open our rings here. On 4 strokes, you have usually an oil ring and then 2 compression rings. on a two-stroke. Some engines have two rings. Other motors have just one ring. This piston has two. So again, we're going to take our assembly grease, put some grease on that, and again, just going to kind of get it started. Hopefully, I don't want to block the camera, but get it started in the groove there, if I can, and then just kind of stretch it over. Stretch it over like that. Do you see how, and hopefully I can zoom in. Let me reposition you just a little bit. Do you see how if I compress these rings, they're meeting at that little pin? That's what you want to be careful for. So now that we got our first ring on, my mistake, you should probably put the bottom ring on first. It's just a little bit easier. That was my mistake. So again, learn from my mistakes. So again, we're gonna, oh, we got a little crud there. I don't know where that came from, but we want to get that out. Oh, I need a pick or something. I don't know where that came from. Must have been on my gloves, but okay. Anyways, now we're gonna put our second ring on here. Again, get it started. Again, if you listen to me, you should have put the second ring on first, because now we're gonna fight our first one here. Okay, there we go, and that's not too bad. All right, you see how we got those all situated? When they compress, they'll meet just like that. So yeah, we're pretty much ready for the cylinder now. All right, so now we're ready for our cylinder. Again, you can put a little bit of assembly grease. This is real thin stuff here. This will burn right off, but you want to make sure you line up your rings like that. And generally, for a bigger motor, you would use what's called a ring compressor, but you can generally get away with just compressing them by hand. The bottom of the cylinders are skirted anyway, so again, all you're gonna do is compress those rings by hand, and we're gonna slowly. It's tough with the camera there, but we're gonna slowly sneak our cylinder. You want to make sure, oh, my glove is caught. You don't want to have any foreign material in there. And then just kind of, we got one ring on, just kind of work it on slowly. It's a little tricky. Sometimes you have to do what I like to do here is you can put a screwdriver or something here to prevent your piston from sinking. Now let me see if I can it's that bottom ring. We'll get it. It's just a matter of time. Just gotta keep working it. All right, I got to move the camera, so we'll be right back. All right, so now that we got that situated, we're going to go ahead and push it down and then turn the crank by hand. You want to make sure that you're not hitting anything, making sure everything looks good. Yeah. Everything looks good. We're gonna go ahead and put our four base cylinder nuts on, tighten it down, torque it correctly, and then yeah, we'll be good to roll. All right, everybody. So we got no carburetor on it, no exhaust. We have our compression gauge in there. I just kind of want to see a dry numbers. You know, we obviously haven't ran it, so let's go ahead and give it a couple of pulls. So we're reading almost 140 psi. We haven't even ran it, so that's a good sign. Yeah, just wanted to make that quick little interjection. We're almost there putting it back together, so let's go ahead and finish up and go outside and give this a yank. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap it up for that video here. On the next video, we're going to see if this bad Larry will start. So anyways, I'd like to thank Dave, my user, RCAF Polar Express. Thank you for always tuning in, and thank you for the inspiration to rebuild this Homelite. It's got wicked good compression, about 150 PSI. So yeah, tune into the next video to see if this bad Larry will start. Yeah. Like I always say, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you have any questions on the rebuild, shoot me a comment below, shoot me an email, whatever it may be. And like I always say, we will see you out in the woods.